Well, good morning.
Good
Today
morning.
we're here with Colleen Gibbons. She is the Deputy Director for the Center for Court Innovation of Upstate New York. And we are continuing our interviews, talking with local Central New York role models and leaders and people who are moving and shaking things up here, and talking about incorporating empathy into the day-to-day and the services provided, but also, during these difficult, stressful, unique times that we're in right now. So I really appreciate you being here, and it's great to see you this morning.
Nice to see you too. I'm happy to join you.
Well, thank you. So, as it begins, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, the services that you provide, and so that we know in general what the position is supposed to be and what it was designed as. Go back 4, 5, 6 weeks back to what normal times were, and let us know what a typical day was.
Sure. So obviously things have changed a little bit, but back in the before time, there wasn't really a typical day even back then. But our upstate New York office has several different programs that we operate, and the general umbrella of all of the Center for Court Innovation's projects and positions are around justice. Building a better justice system for everyone. So in upstate New York, we have a couple different programs. We have the Parent Support Program, which helps non-custodial parents get jobs and pay child support. We have an Assigned Counsel Program, which is with the Assigned Counsel Office, which is Onondaga County's version of a public defender. We do defendant services there. So there's a couple social workers who, the attorneys who take indigent legal clients can refer their clients to the social workers for any supports that they need in the community or things that they need. And we have a peacemaking program that it operates on the near west side, and it does a couple different things. So we have peacemaking circles for community members and some young kids who are involved in the justice system or touch the justice system. And we have a program there called Take Back the Streets, which does outreach to the community, both with service providers and then also a community impact team of residents of the near west side who work in their community to make it better and build programs that they really want to see. Those are some of the specific projects that the Syracuse Upstate New York office does. And then my boss and I also work within the court systems, helping with some of the problem-solving courts that can include the human trafficking intervention court, the veterans treatment court, the care court, which is the opioid court. And so those are kind of the main and the mental health court, which is the recovery court is the name of it. And those are some of the things that I would be involved in on a day-to-day basis. So no day was the same. Another part of my job is also doing something called technical assistance, which means working with specific courts around consulting around what best practices and model practices are. So I specifically have worked in some of the drug court models and in some of the opioid courts around different research projects, looking at what makes a good court and how to improve them. So any of those things are different things that I would do on a day-to-day basis, help them work within those programs, all of that. Now, in the now time, I am working from home in my home office, and I do a lot of interactive Zoom calls, Google Meet calls, webinars around what different programs are doing. One of the really interesting things that I found is, especially around drug court models, it's really hard for people to get tested now, right? And one of the big issues in drug courts is going in and getting a clean test and then getting the support from the court system. And so the benefit of the Center for Court Innovation is that we work across the country to help different jurisdictions. And so all of these jurisdictions have been coming together to say, this is what we've been doing. This is what best practices look like. These are how our courts are operating. This is how we ensure that people have access to the court, even when we're doing virtual appearances, right? So I think that that's really interesting. It does involve a lot of looking at the screen and that kind of a thing, but it's really useful to see the innovation actually happen when I worked for a program called the Center for Court Innovation. And similarly, some of our local programs have gotten really innovative. So we have peacemakers that work at the Peacemaking Center, and every Tuesday we do a peacemaker lunch. They're volunteers, so we check in with them and talk to them, and then have started to even do some virtual circles with some of the school districts. And our parent support program has started to do some work generally to take in cases for any non-custodial parent who has lost their job, to help them create a resume or do anything like that, as we know that unemployment is going to be a big issue for some of these parents.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things. One is the things that you're creating now, I'm hearing from a lot of people, are things that you'll be able to take into the future. Are you finding that?
I do think so. I think it's really interesting to see how we've always had this idea. So we're the upstate office of the Center for Court Innovation, and the main offices of the center are down in New York City. And so even connecting with our main offices now has gotten easier because everyone is now virtual, right? So we used to kind of call into some meetings and be the few people that were on the line when everyone else was there in person. And now everyone is in the same situation. So there's a lot of understanding around, even though we all feel so disconnected, this is also a way to embrace connection in a strange way, right? Like now not everyone, but many people are on the same playing field, right? So there's that benefit to be able to draw people together in that way, definitely.
Another commonality that I'm hearing with other people that I'm talking to is going out and talking with other people in other communities or states or nationwide to try to determine what is the best way to move forward, and working together in that way. So I'm hoping, as I'm speaking with people, that's something that will also go into the future, as we move ahead and deal with hopefully not such dire situation. But even just making decisions on progress moving forward.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think, it's an easier way to bring people to the table when there's not a physical table that people have to be at.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So incorporating empathy into what you do, I'm already hearing that through your justice and the programs set around that. You're dealing with people on more of an individual level than becoming part of a group of people who are labeled something. So you are reaching out to each person individually, it sounds like, to help them negotiate and work through whatever times they're going through, and be able to access some social programs that might help them get out of the situation that they're in, or give them a foundation to work from. So I love that. Do you want to talk a little bit further about incorporating empathy into these programs?
Yeah, so a couple really interesting stories just this week came out of our defendant services program. So these are people who are involved in the justice system, and the social workers generally help them, and they get referrals from the attorneys who work directly with them. And so one of our social workers was referred because the attorney said that the client's landlord was trying to do a self-help eviction, essentially. So we know that evictions are on pause in New York, but they wanted this person out. And to do it, they contacted National Grid to shut off the power to that residence, which is essentially a self-help eviction. If you don't have power, you're not going to stay there, you'll leave, and then you're evicted. But our social worker was able to contact Volunteer Lawyers Project and get in touch with the tenant lawyer there. who was able to give her the legal knowledge to help her understand, like, actually, it's now a misdemeanor for people to do self-help evictions in New York State. And if this continues, that person could be subject to up to 364 days in jail.
Wow.
And so they were able to contact National Grid, get the power turned back on, and that client has the time to stay in that house as they are legally able to do under this New York on pause, essentially. And I think that's empathetic, right? Because, like, everyone is going through things right now, and that shows, like, you know, the least among us deserve that ability to have a safe place to live and a place to be in this time of essentially chaos, especially for someone who kind of lives day to day like that. So I think that that's really nice that those systems were able to work to support, beneficial systems were able to work to support a client like that when negative systems were working against them, right?
Yeah.
And then I think on a personal empathetic level, one of our social workers does something called patient navigation. So assists clients who are in the justice system but have medical issues, often women who might be pregnant or who are parenting young children or who have other medical needs. And she had a client who was a cancer survivor and has worked with this client in one of the specialty court or one of the problem solving courts for a period of time, and recognized that this woman was a cancer survivor, was having symptoms, and because of the COVID pandemic was unable to get into the clinic that she usually goes to. So our patient navigator was able to use her connections as the social worker that she is in the community and get her into a specialist who was able to determine that, yes, the cancer was back, and then able to get her the oncology services that she needs, which this woman would not have been able to navigate those systems on her own without that support. So I think it is really useful to have these kind of services for the community at this time.
Oh, yeah. And just really providing resources. Some of the people I'm talking to are saying that, their resources are changing, or they are concentrating more on resources that they didn't have to concentrate on before because now the situation is different. So now
Yeah.
people need slightly different things. They can provide that resource, but how do they actually get out there and show people that we can do this for you? So something just like that with someone, I can't imagine that that was the only person in the city right now who's dealing with a possible eviction. And
Yeah.
knowing where to turn and who to turn to and what resources are available and what the law is could be huge for these people. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if someone is hearing this and they're in a situation, where would you direct them?
There's a lot of different legal resources right now. So for evictions, definitely I would look at Volunteer Lawyers Project. They have an eviction specialist attorney who is usually in the landlord-tenant court every day, but they're not hearing landlord-tenant cases right now. So she's able to do direct like advice and counsel around that. Also, the general legal services are available. So the Legal Aid of Mid New York is open, Legal Services of Central New York, and the Hiscox Legal Aid Society. And Vera House also has a legal aid or a legal assistance program for victims of violence. And our services, we don't actually provide legal services, but we provide community services to help folks who are touching the justice system as well.
Right, right. Well, this is all wonderful information, and it's always great to talk to you. And is there anything else that you would like to share or put out there, before we end today's interview?
I think, not that I can think of specifically. It's really nice to be able to have a chance to talk to you and share some of these services and programs. And if people are in need of assistance, it's nice to know that the community has really stepped up to provide so many different services and an array of services that can hopefully help those who are most in need among us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we're finding a lot of, people who are put in a position where they have to make decisions, uh, with no map, no guideline of what am I doing today because I can't do what I did yesterday, and asking, how can I serve? What can I do? Looking at
Yeah.
the staff that we have or the abilities we have, and how do I serve today? So, you are one of those people, and I enjoy talking to people who are thinking ahead and trying to figure out where can I help. So thank you so much for
Thank
everything you
you.
do.
I really appreciate the chance to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Okay, and I will talk to you soon. Take care of yourself.
I look forward to it. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.